Hello, my name is Anne and welcome to a Tobyknits Quilty Fun special, and this is the Carnival QAYG episode 4, I think, and this is going to be the final one. Yes, we're at the end. So I don't know how to link to the previous ones, so you have to just go back down and have a look. They should be under the Quilty Fun tab, so you can probably find them there. Episode 1, I talked about how I was going to quilt this together using the quilt as you go method, because I couldn't fit it all underneath my sewing machine. And I sewed them in 5 long strips this way. And then I showed you in episode 2 how to join the strips together by adding a little piece to go over at the back, the same as the backing fabric, and you just actually join them together just like you normally would at the front. Then in episode 3, we discussed the border and what I was going to do with the borders. So it came with this one, but then I got an extra, which was this, and a bigger, deeper one, the same size as these two put together up here. But I decided I was just going to stick with those 2 because I don't think I have enough fabric to do this on the back, plus the little extra pieces. So now it's finished. Other than I have to do the binding. But before I do the binding, what I'm going to do is trim all my edges just to make sure that they are all the same size and even, and they've got bits on them, so I'm just going to take my time, trim my edges up. Once I've done that, this is going to be the binding, so I'm going to cut out my 2.5-inch strips and start, probably go that way, and start joining them together. Okay, all the trimming is done. All my pieces have been cut for the binding, and now I'm about to sew them together. Now, you know when you don't do something for ages? I mean, how often do we make binding, right? You know, I mean, it takes us months and months to do the quilt. So, like if you just say, okay, twice a year you might do binding. How many of you, hands up, really, be honest, forget how to do it? How many of you have to go back and watch a video? Because I totally forgot how to do it. So first of all, I put my 2 pieces together, which is correct. But then I sewed, and I knew you have to do some diagonal sewing. So I knew we did the step, and I thought, no, that's not right. And then I had to sit and think, and then, oh yeah, we have to put it like this, like a letter L. And one tip I learned from doing this, I'll put you down so you can see it's easier. One tip I learned was set this one up so it shows just a little bit of the outside of the edge of the underneath fabric. Let's see, like that. There. And then when you sew the diagonal, you sew right from the tip down and you finish off here. And apparently, let me show you, it's supposed to be nicer finish. So let's get these all straightened up here. Start there. And then I'm going to use my seam tape too and go straight down towards that middle bit. Make sure that's lined up. Like that. Then when we trim off this piece, you go up from the bottom. Can you see that? You come up from here and then across and trim it. And look. Yeah, so I'm going to do that now for all the rest of them, now that I've remembered what I'm supposed to do. So that one's going to go that way. This one will come this way. So I'll be back when I've done all that and I'm ready to press them. Okay, so now I am going to press these in half. Another tip for you, what I always do is I'll cut out what it tells me to do for however many strips it says I need. And then what I do is I put my quilt on the bed and I'll sew together all but one strip. So I think I may have sewn 6 of these strips together. And what I do is then I lay it on the bed and I pretend roughly and go all the way around doing my flippy corners and all that and see if I actually need all of the strips. And in most cases I don't. And I always open up the seam on the join there. I just find it easier when it comes to the pressing part. So I'm just pressing these together. And then as I do it, so that I don't have this chunk, I just fold it up on itself into little. So when I'm at the end ready to go to the machine, I don't have this giant strip getting in the way. So it's actually Sunday here for me today. And I've had a headache for 4 days now. This is day 4. It's all weather. The weather's been awful. We had heat and humidity for about 5 days, which makes you feel sick after a while. In fact, I think my daughter-in-law got sunstroke or something this week. She's been really sick. And then right after that, for the last 2 days, we've had nothing but heavy low clouds and rain. And that's usually what gives me migraine, when the barometric pressure drops. And I've just felt so tired and so blah, you know. It's been a challenge to even when I'd sit and sew or cross stitch when I'm watching the football, sometimes I'm not actually doing anything. I'm just holding it in my hand. I've been trying to nap each afternoon too, which has been just lovely. But it shouldn't last that much longer. I'm sure we'll have another bloody heat wave soon. Of course, when it's always rainy and stuff, it always reminds me of home. It reminds me of England. And it does a lovely job in the garden. You should see the size of my tomato plants. And I think sometimes, I don't know if you're like this, you know, when you get into the end of a job, the end of a quilt, yeah, I think that's why I decided not to put the other border on. I was fed up of it now. I just want to get it done. I've got other things to do. But I really liked having that orange as the last piece. I would have liked that to have been the bigger border, but oh well. And of course, there's a couple of corners that look a bit wonky. But hey, it's my quilt. It doesn't matter. It's not going to be put in any big quilting competition. It's not going to be a gift for anybody. It's for me. And who is going to sit there and pick my quilt apart when it's on my lap and say, oh, that corner doesn't look right. That's a bit wonky. Because guess what I'll tell them? But I have to say, I do enjoy, I don't know why, sorry I woggled you then, I really do enjoy doing the binding. And I typically hand sew it onto the back. I'll sew it on the front, turn it over, and then I'll typically hand sew it to the back. I just enjoy doing it that way. I have occasionally sewn it on the front and on the back. But I feel like you have to do that the other way. I feel like you have to sew it on first onto the front, not onto the back, and then stitch it in place in the front. Otherwise, I think you don't always catch the fabric. Well, at least I don't. Whereas if I'm sewing it on, I know I've done it right. Hand sewed it. And you can just do that while you're watching telly, right? Have it on your lap. All right, I think I'm at the end of my binding and we're ready to go and put the binding on. Or maybe it's nap time. think it's nap time. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, it's very warm again today. Don't ask me why, but it is. And so I decided today was the day to put the binding on. So I've got my binding ready and the quilt. Now, I'm still dilemmaing whether I'm going to hand sew on the binding and in the back as I normally do, or do I want to... No, I'm going to do it like I normally do. So I will hand sew it on. So typically what I do is, this is the top of the quilt, and I would start in the middle of the top, and you have to leave yourself a bit of space from your doodad for when we do the join, which I'm telling you right now, I'll have to pause this to go watch the video. Never can get it right. So I am gonna just start here. I'll pin the first few bits on. I don't have the walking foot on. I think I should be all right. And I'm pinning raw edge to raw edge. I'm only gonna pin for the first little bit and then to the corner, and then I'll probably not bother with the pins. So let's get going, and I'll show you how I do my corners. Now then, let's get this baby in. I think I've put it on 2.5. It doesn't have to be. I got my black thread and, like I said, my walking foot. So let's put her in and get going. And it's all on my lap, which is making me hot. Okay, let's go. And then I just roll it over the tape that fell on the floor. Did I tell you my Peter Rabbit stuff came yesterday? Oh, I was so excited. England played this afternoon in their last game. Because today is Tuesday. So I'm going to... Oh, hey, have you watched today's video that went up? I am going to start it while I'm watching the England game. Now, I stitch to about 1/4 of an inch to the edge, and then I lift my presser foot up, turn my fabric, and come off. So kind of like, oh, it's probably better on that side, and then come off. So I'm about 1/4 of an inch. Then what I do, so now I have to rearrange all that, is I put the tape up and away from me at a diagonal. I don't even know if you can see this. So I take my tape and I take it up to a diagonal like that. See, there's my, and then I bring it back down on top like that. That's how I do my corners. Now I need this back on the floor because we're coming down this way now. Take my pin out now. I don't need it in there. to get organized again. See, this is why I don't like doing it on the domestic sewing machine, the quilting part. Because imagine if you have all this on your lap when you're trying to do it. But when it's just the binding, it's not for long. And I don't mind. And I'm not pinning this part, as you can see, because I can just see where I'm going. So I'll do gasping for a cup of tea though. I made a bag this morning. I've come up with like a new bag I want to sew for the shop. And so I spent most of the morning playing around. Oh, you're waggling terrible. Because the machine. It must be pushing on the table. Yeah, well maybe I better just keep doing this. I'll meet you back when I'm finished. Okay, so binding is on. And yes, I had to look up how in the world of God to do the join. Every time I have to look it up, every time. I'll leave a link below to the one I use or that I follow. So you'll see. Now I'm just pressing the binding on one side. Just giving it a few press. Oh, that looks wonky there, but who cares? It's my quilt. One of my corners is really rubbish. You can hardly see the orange. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. We're not perfectionists. I'm just giving that a good iron. All the way around. No, that one's not wonky either. Ow. It's hot. And then my favorite part, the pinning part. Because I like using the Wonder clips for that. All right, that should be back to where I was. Now we'll flip it this way and I will bring over. Now, do I need, let's have a look, to trim any of this? Sometimes you kind of, no, I don't think so. So I usually bring my piece to the stitched line, fold it over to the stitched line, and then I can sew it, hand sew it underneath so you can't see. And I'll probably use the black. So I shall just keep doing this all the way around. And then be ready to hand sew the binding on. And we'll be complete. Okay, here it is. It's got all the binding on. Obviously, I just have to sew it down in place, but you don't need to see me do that. How cool is that? I love it. It came out really good. Actually, this kind of looks perfect for Tristan's room. I hope you enjoyed this little short series. By no means is it a tutorial because I am not really that good at Quilt As You Go. I'm learning just like you guys. But I've really enjoyed doing it this way, and I know I'm going to do all my quilts like this from now on, whether they're cotton cuts quilts or other quilts, because it's so much easier. I love it. I hope you have enjoyed this. Please give me a thumbs up and a like, and I'll be back soon with another podcast. Bye.